welcome to another episode of this podcast, Fits Your Macros. Finally, I've got a partner here. Ryan's been super busy. So not only do I have a partner in my podcast today, but a very special guest. She is my sister and newest coach to Team FFLEX. Welcome to the show, Maura Worthen. How are you doing today, girl?
I'm doing good. You know, just got off a shift last night, but it was a nice, easy one. So it's a good day.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you said that because what we're talking about today is night shift macros, because I know personally as a coach, I have a lot of shift workers, which first of all, side note, shift workers, thank you. You guys help the world run and you don't get the things that you need anytime. So anytime I have a night shift worker, I'm like, thank you for what you do. It's hard work. I mean, like, I've never done it, so I can't put myself in there, but I just know from the benefits of sleep, and I know from having a kid that didn't sleep for 11 months straight that sleep deprivation fucking sucks, man. So
it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think today's discussion will be really helpful, whether you're a nurse that works days, nights, split shift. We're going to have some good nuggets here. So before we jump into it, we always talk about, is it worth the macros? Now, I should have shared with you, we didn't get to meet up today. We're podcasting from different houses, even though she's only a mile away. But I have two for today, because one of them isn't quite like really macros because it's like a diet food. So I'm going to start with the Dr. Pepper strawberries and cream. I bought the zero because I cannot justify. I looked at the full octane one and I was like, 35 fucking grams of sugar, that does not need to be in my house because my husband will drink it all. So I bought zero sugar. Did you try this? I can't remember if I brought it the other day.
I did. I bought them before. I tried it before you, but I didn't tell you. I also had the zero sugar one.
Yes. And okay, so what did you think about it?
For zero sugar, is it worth it? I mean, yeah. It tastes exactly what you'd think. Like, for what it is, you're like, ew, strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper, but that's what it tastes like. And I liked it. It cured a little sweet craving for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, honestly, like the first time I saw it at the store, I didn't buy it because I thought when I brought it home, Brad would be like, what the fuck are you buying? Like, this is disgusting. And then they'd end up sitting in my pantry forever, or I'd bring them to your house or something like I do with most of the baby stuff that I like. But I bought it and like Brad tried it and he was like, oh my God, this is really good. So I was like, I gotta try this now. I give it a solid 10 out of 10. It might just be my favorite diet soda right now and ever.
Yeah, I liked it. Jacob, my husband, he was like, that sounds disgusting, because you're either like an okay with fruit person with your drinks or not. He thought it sounded disgusting, but he was actually pleasantly surprised. He's like, for what it is, that's pretty darn good. He's like, I normally wouldn't like anything that has strawberries and cream in it, but for what it was, he liked it. So I drank the whole thing. I liked it.
Literally, I had to tell Brad, I'm like, you gotta leave me one of these because I need it for my podcast or my TikTok. So anyway, 10 out of 10 for that. If you are looking for something that fits your macros all the time, maybe something to crave the sweet tooth, of course, I don't recommend doing like a shit ton of artificials. Let's have that caveat there. But if you are needing something sweet, that's probably my new diet obsession. But since that isn't really a macro food, I will give you another sneak peek. I was looking down the Easter aisle for something that I can try out. And I found Dr. Pepper Peeps, which I feel like this is very Dr. Pepper.
Oh, Dr. Pepper Peeps, not the Peep Dr. Pepper.
No. Like Peeps shaped like Dr. Pepper. I mean, not Dr.
That actually...
Not shaped like Dr. Pepper.
That actually sounds better than the Peep.
Pepsi,
than the Peep soda, yeah.
Also going to be on my TikTok, so I'm not going to give you
okay
for that one. But so the macros, let's go over these macros for the Dr. Pepper Peeps, which I bought thinking this is going to be terrible. So for 4 Peeps, we've got 110 calories, 0 grams of fat, so it's fat-free. Woo, it's healthy, right? No, just kidding. 27 grams of carbs and 1 whole gram of protein for your gains needs.
Okay, 27 for 4?
Yeah, for
not
4.
terrible.
So I had 1, of course, because we're in prep mode. And now I have to, like, asterisk everything that I rate because I am in prep mode and I'm like, does
Mm,
this actually taste good or am I just down bad for
yeah.
sweets or something? You know?
Right. Yeah.
I thought this was fucking amazing too. Like I like even in my TikTok, I'm eating it and I'm like expecting it to be gross. And I'm like, oh my god, this is really good. So I have a whole rest of a pack if you want to come over and get the rest of them for me. Although
I will try one. I know.
yes.
I will try one. I like soda flavored things. Like when I was a kid, like those bottle cap, like soda flavored, I loved those. So I have a feeling that I would dig it.
Nice. See, this is nice. Like normally I'm with Ryan. He's like, I don't eat sweets. Not that there's anything wrong with that, Ryan, but like, you know, a sweet whore like me because we are of the same kin.
Bring it on. We have the same genes, that's why.
I know. All righty. Well, let's get into what we are actually talking about today, which is, again, the night shift macros. So if you are just joining this podcast for the first time and you do not know what a macro is, we will just take a step back and introduce that because for us and like the whole point of this podcast is about the fact that like for us macros is the best way to go about life because you can find food freedom and really be able to eat the food that you want and you like while still hitting your goals because you've got these prescribed macros.
Flexibility.
Hit. Flexibility is where we're at. Sustainability is where we're at as well. So I feel like the problem that comes along with night shift workers is the fact that, first of all, night shift workers aren't working night shift every single day of their lives. You kind of swap back and forth between a day shift and a night shift. Well, not day shift, but like living your life every day.
Living days.
Shift. Yeah. So
yeah.
Tell me about that life. What do you find? Like, what's a week look like for you?
Well, you know, everyone does theirs differently, depending on if you're full-time, part-time. You know, if you're a nurse, for example, you work 12 hours. And if you're full-time, you typically work 3 12-hour shifts. And, you know, some people are brave and do their 3 in a row, and it is taxing on the body. So not only is it hard work and confusing, but a lot of times you're just so tired that like meals aren't important, right? You're prioritizing sleep, you're not really eating. So there's that, you know, conflict of it. The other thing is confusion of what day am I on? What day does this go on? If I'm only awake during the night and I'm crossing over that midnight barrier, you know, there's what day do I put this macro on? And you know, when it comes down to it, the nice thing about it is that average of the week. But I've through my couple of years of prepping have found a couple tricks that work for me, that I will share today, that just kind of go over, like, you know, when those confusions arise, those questions arise, like a good way to work around it. The flipping of the schedule. On your first day off, you sleep half the day, so are you eating a crap ton of macros in the afternoon, or can, you know? So I have a couple tricks up my sleeve. But yeah, the flipping of the shifts is hard. It really just depends what you're into. I tend to work 2 of mine together and 1 separate, so I'm not totally dead on my 3rd shift.
Yes. All right. Well, again, if you find anything interesting in this, or you think it helps you or could help a friend, please right now be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, because I know you're all going to get a lot from this. Even I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot for my clients as well. So give me the first example of how you track your macros in this chaos.
So when I first started, I tried your typical midnight to midnight, right? Seems to be logically the most sense to try to keep track, right? Like you hit midnight, it's a new day. You hit midnight, it's a new day. I started there. Now, I will preference this is not my favorite way to count macros, because again, you're dealing with, you know, you may be starting a shift where you're sleeping half the day, or you may be coming off your shifts where you're sleeping half the day. And, you know, sometimes that shift gets busy. You don't get to eat before midnight. And now you're like, okay, well, now it's after midnight. Where does this go? But to simplify things, really easy. Once that strike of midnight happens, you're logging on that next day. Super easy. MyFitnessPal already opens up to that new day. So logging as you go. If you're someone that pre-logs, doesn't isn't as helpful, but if you're someone who like tracks as you go, could be helpful. Whether you're running to the cafeteria, eating whatever snacks are in your bag, you can log those as you go. And then after you sleep for the day, you see what you have the next day. So that tends to be like the most simplified way to do it. But actually in practicality for me, it's not as simple as that. So I prefer to do more of a like per shift kind of vibe. So when I wake up for my shift, that very first shift, that starts my 24-hour window. And then it starts new when I wake up from sleeping after that shift.
Okay, now how important do you think like pre-logging your food is for this? Like, do you like, especially for a beginner? Let's talk about someone who is just starting on their night shift. Because this is actually a selfish question. I have a client who is a competitor who is going to be starting on night shifts, doing a travel assignment in a couple weeks. So,
okay,
what should I tell her?
110% plan ahead. Plan ahead. Lots of good nutrient dense, but not so much calorically dense snacks, if that makes sense. Like cucumbers is something you hear. It's filling, but it doesn't, take up a lot of macros. Those kind of things will come in clutch, because one thing that happens on the night shift when you get tired, especially if you're not acclimated to it, is the snacks. And things are closed in the middle of the night except for Bosa donuts, right? So if someone's coming in, patients bring you donut, all those things are so tempting because nothing healthy is open during night shift, right? So it's really important to bring your food with you, plan ahead so you're not tempted to eat in that cafeteria or order DoorDash or whatever it may be, because healthy things just aren't open in the middle of the night. So that would be the first thing. And so typically what I would do if I was, so say I didn't work tonight, but I work tomorrow night, right? So before I go to bed tonight, my normal bedtime, I would pre-plan whatever I'm eating for tomorrow, right? So pre-plan it all in MyFitnessPal. Now I would tend to stay up later, sleep in to plan for my shifts. If you have kids, it doesn't always work that way. So right now I only nap when my little guy naps, but before I had kids, I would just sleep until noon, 1:00, and so when I woke up at that 1:00 point, that was the start of my day and my macros instead of starting at that midnight time. So having everything planned out is great. I'd make sure I'd have something to work around the gym. I'd go to the gym before my shifts instead of after, because I tend to be pretty exhausted after shifts, and your brain will always want to prioritize that sleep. So hitting a workout post shift is always 10 times harder than hitting it before. And plus, I feel like it wakes me up and it energizes me to get ready for that shift. So I wake up around 12 or 1, have a snack, hit the gym, and that sets my day for the macros, or my macros for the day. Now, when it would turn midnight on that shift that night, I don't switch over to the next day. I should still have macros left planned because, right, I planned knowing that I'm going to be awake longer. I have those planned out. Now, the nice thing about this mentality is, say it comes 6:00 in the morning and I'm still hungry. I've eaten all my macros for the day before. I'm still hungry. I know I'm back tonight, so I'm going to be sleeping most of the day. Have a snack added on that next day. So that next day that is currently the day. So that's why I don't track mine from midnight to midnight, because if you go past midnight and you're already tracking a new day, what happens when you get towards the end of that shift and you're just hungry when you get home, right? You're going into your next night shift with basically an empty tank. You don't have anything to pull from.
Yeah.
Seems super confusing.
Well, I know that maybe from like an outsider who's never worked nights before, it might be a little confusing, but the people who we're targeting right now are shift workers that are working 12-hour shifts, switching back and forth. They are understanding 100%, and I know that they're appreciating it. So again, share, like, comment if that's you. We appreciate it. I wanted to know.
And if anyone has questions, if anything I say doesn't make sense, dive in more, hit me on my Instagram and ask me personally. Like, I've had a couple people, give me specific, like, they're like, this is my schedule for the week. Like, what should I do? And I can help you go through that and figure out what works best for you. Because the thing with a shift worker too, is I can sit here and tell you exactly what was perfect for me, but that's not going to be perfect for you, right? Like, my life pre-kids is totally different than my life post-kids, for sure.
Now, let me ask you something nurse related. Now, you are in labor and delivery. Do you feel like it would be different for different people in different departments, or do you think like this will pretty much be a good guide for everybody?
In general, nursing in general is pretty unpredictable, right? You can have a chill, easy night, or it could be completely chaotic. Most of the time for nurses, we get literally just a 30-minute break. It sounds totally lovely, right, for 12 hours, but most of us only really get that 30-minute break. What's going to be hard for most nurses is prioritizing. I would always come and try to eat something at the beginning of my shift, because if it does, when you're on prep and your calories are so low, if you get stuck in an emergency or a code or anything like that, for me, pushing with a patient for 4+ hours, like, and you don't get that snack in, like, you start to feel it. So one advice that I would say is always plan a good hearty snack or meal at the start of your shift, so then when things do arise, it's not a big deal if you don't get to eat right at midnight or whenever you normally take your lunch. That's going to be the biggest obstacle. I think all areas of nursing have that unpredictability, so I think this is good advice, hopefully for all areas.
Now, let me ask you, what would be like your top 5 or 10 favorite quick snacks? Because I know sometimes it's a matter of like maybe 2 minutes you have to scarf something down, which of course goes against every mindful eating thing that I ever believe in. But you got to do what you got to do. What are like 5 or 10 quick macro-friendly snacks that every nurse should have in their arsenal?
Okay, let me go back into my prep brain a couple years. Rice cakes and PB2, clutch. I bring a little container that has my PB2 measured out to the consistency that I like. Get a knife, slap that on there. Rice cakes and deli meat come in clutch too. With what are those cheese wedges? What are they? Laughing Cow cheeses. Those. Smash that on a rice cake. Put some like lunch meat or whatever on there.
Sponsor us, Quaker.
Not
sponsor us with rice cakes.
I know, right? Please, rice cakes. Oh my god! If you're doing the lunch meat one, lunch meat, the white cheddar ones are like top.
Oh, okay.
And flip it upside down so that the white cheddar's on the bottom, so it hits your tongue better.
Oh yeah, I always flop salty side down.
Yeah.
If anybody else, comment if you do salty side down.
Salty side down.
Salty #salty side down. The tomato basil.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Tomato
I have salty side down, especially with the Laughing Cow cheeses. So good. Not everyone's cup of tea, but sweet cucumbers. Again, don't do a lot of the artificial sugars, but in a pinch, I did eat some cucumbers with some sugar-free syrup and cinnamon. It sounds super gross, but when everyone else is eating donuts, sometimes you just need a sweet cucumber. Let's see.
My clients too, and knowing fair well that I do not eat cucumbers because I think they're nasty. But I'm like, oh, your craving so sweet, you can try cucumber with syrup. And they're like, ew, that sounds nasty. I'm like, it probably is, but it'll help you. I don't know if you like cucumbers, it might not.
I ate them.
I've done egg whites with sugar-free syrup before when all that's left is protein, and I just want something sweet. Don't knock it until you try it. Anyway, go on with your list. We got 2 unless you want to keep going, girl.
Let's see. So for nurses, if you are someone who has a job that's, maybe you're an ICU nurse and you know that you're like go nonstop, finding a high quality protein bar. Now, the protein bars that taste better are going to be higher in calories, right? But we're busy. And so sometimes I keep one of those in my bag. One, it's a really good treat if you find one you like. I like the barbells ones recently. That's been my jam. The cashew one is my favorite, or the cookies and cream. Now, they are a higher calorie bar, so if you're super low, this might not be great, especially if you're going to be tempted to eat it just because it's there. But I would keep it in my bag for those situations where I am pushing with a patient for 3 hours. Now I'm going back for a C-section, and I might not come back out to my desk or my bag for 4 or 5 hours, and I'm eating while I'm charting. So those are nice to fill that macro void. I like to keep one of those in my pockets. And then for me personally, I would always save in my macros room for maybe one Oreo or one little thing of something that you liked. So if you have that terrible shift where you're just like, this sucks, because sometimes it does, you're like, I have that Oreo in my bag, I'm going to go eat it right now. So for me personally, I would always save that.
What is your favorite type of Oreo? Because this is an important question.
Golden Thins. Man, you can have 4 for the price of 2, basically. And the golden ones, it helps the mind, okay?
Dude.
Or the lemon. The lemon are good too, but golden.
Gosh, are we?
They're so good.
Gross.
They're so good. And the thins taste different. Oh, the mints are good too. When my calories are high, I put mint ones in my, yeah. When my calories are high, I like to put those in my protein shake and make like a McFlurry.
I did
Not really, but
when they were like super high, but like now I don't think I've gotten high enough to the point now that I don't teach group fitness that I would ever want to drink an Oreo versus eating an Oreo.
I know. I you think that it would last longer, but really you just want to eat the Oreo. But the Goldens, the thins taste different than the regular ones. I promise. And you get 4 for the same macros as 2. Okay. Maybe if it fits your macros, Oreo edition.
Oh, I've tried so many of them. They need to release some new ones so I can try some new ones. I was going to suggest 2. One thing that I think is a good quick snack, and you can tell me if it's wrong and it's not appropriate for the nurse's station, is like some Greek yogurt with protein powder. Is that a quick gobble?
Oh, yeah.
Gobble? Because I know back in the lab when I didn't have a lot of time, I would always have a Greek yogurt with some protein powder mixed in because like we would be, doing procedures for like hours and hours, and sometimes it would be last minute, and I'd just be like, give me 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I got a half cup of Greek yogurt, or actually 3/4 of a cup, and boom, that gives you like 30 grams right there. And
it's pretty like satisfying, like Greek yogurt tends to be that thicker, like it's not just like you're doing a drinkable smoothie or something where you don't feel satisfied. Yeah. Greek yogurt is a good one. Cottage cheese too, if you're a cottage cheese person. Some people aren't, some people are.
Very contested. Although I did see somebody blend up.
It's a very 50-50.
I wonder if that would help people with texture issues. I would never try it because I love the chunks. Maybe I'm a freak, but like, so if you are a cottage cheese hater, try blending it and see if you like it better, because I know it's a big texture thing. What about jerky? Is that a quick like?
Jerky's good. It depends how chewy it is, right? If you're getting the kind that you're chewing on for 15 minutes, like not the greatest, but anything like no, you didn't.
Just kidding.
Still chewing this piece. Well, when we had the masks, it wasn't that bad. No, I'm just kidding. No,
you're not.
But I'm not. I'd like have like something in my mouth going in a room, and now I have to be like, oh, we don't have to wear them anymore. So I'm like, oh wait, did I have stuff in my teeth? Or like,
trowel in there.
Right? Yeah. Hop one in. Yeah, no, beef jerky is good too. Now, you didn't hear it from me. I know all night shift workers were left. We do not eat at the nurse's station. It's not allowed. But lots of ice packs in your lunchbox so that you can have it accessible, easy, and not have to go to a fridge works really well too.
Well, that's where, 6-pack bags will come in handy too, or wolf pack.
Yeah.
And a Hot Logic.
Yes. Sometimes nurse, you just eat your. I don't. I have to eat it cold, man. No, I'm just kidding. Sometimes I have to. But sometimes you heat up your food and then you're like gone, dealing with your patient for 30 minutes. You come back and you're like, I'm just going to eat it, whatever.
Mom life too. That's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes. Let's see what I have on my little list here. What are some other like trials and tribulations that you've come across as a nurse and tracking macros and all that good stuff.
Well, one of the things that I really struggled with was people, especially in my department. I can't speak for others because unfortunately, not every area of the hospital is as happy as my area, although we do have sad days too. But one of the things I really struggled with is when my patient would bring a gift for their nurses, right? They bring you in this gift basket that has cookies and candies and all the Starbucks drinks and all the things. And you're so tempted because you're like, man, I'm the one putting in the hard work for this patient, and I'm not even getting to reap the rewards of, of what I'm doing. One of the things that I would do is if it was not prepackaged, so say someone bought in donuts, I would look at this donut and go, it's going to sit out for, I'm going to leave it, I'm not going to touch it for the rest of my shift, right? That's going to be maybe 4 or 6 hours. And if I come back and I think that this is like just absolutely undeniably good looking, I will make a small piece fit in my macros. Most of the time that doesn't happen, right? Because everyone else picks over it. So you have like a quarter of a donut that's been touched by like 8 people and you're like, that's not really worth it to me. So I never touch it right away. If it is,
it's all hard on the outside too.
It's hard. It's not worth it. You're either eating a hot donut or you're not eating any, or at least for me. And then if it was prepackaged, say they bought my favorite candy or cookie or whatever, I would take it and I would put it in my bag, okay, my nursing bag. Then when I would get home, I'd have a specific spot in my house where I put all that stuff. And if around show day or close to it, if I took that out and it wasn't expired and it was something I still desired, I would save it for a post-show treat. If it was expired, if I'm like, why the heck did I keep this at this time? Like, you always have to remind yourself there's going to be time that you can eat it. Okay, maybe this donut is fresh right here in this second, but you can get another fresh donut later on, and maybe a kind that you actually like better. So, it's hard when you do the hard work and everyone's reaping the benefits of your patient's rewards, basically, but you have to remind yourself, like, your goals are bigger than that. Save it for later, and if it's really worth it, you'll keep it and you'll eat it later. But most of the time, the dollar snack that you're saving in your pantry, you're like, if I really want this, I'll just go buy it. Like, it's $1. Why am I saving this? And your kid steals it anyway and they eat it and you're like, oh, okay, cry about it later.
I feel like so much of it is the mindset, because like you do get that scarcity mindset, especially when you are low on sleep, you're hungry, and you're just like,
for sure,
this isn't going to be here by the time I get out of surgery or whatever. I'm just going to eat it now, and then you end up like regretting it. So that was all like great tips there.
The other thing too, I tell myself is if I eat this junk food, I'm not going to be hungry for my protein, right? And it's going to make that protein or that food that I make way less desirable because I've already tainted my palate with sweetness, right? So then you would have this struggle of, I mean, who wants to eat a big hearty protein meal at 4 a.m? But especially if you ate a donut an hour, I mean, maybe some people wake up that early, but I only wake up that early if I'm already awake and I'm working. Other than that, I'm dead to the world at that time. But I would find myself like struggling to finish my protein, which is what is sustaining me, what is keeping those muscles growing. And because I made room for this shitty donut at 3 hours ago, so it's easy to get swept up in that, but you have to remind yourself, stick to your plan, stick to what you have. You made food that you like and that's desirable. That's the thing about macros, is you don't have to eat fish and tilapia every day. You made yourself this really good lemon chicken that you want to eat because you like it and you made it for yourself, or sweet potatoes or whatever it is that you're eating. Make it desirable. That's the other thing too. Make sure you have a lunch at work that isn't just bland, right? Like, plan your day so that you can make that food taste good, because everyone else is going to have good food and you should be able to have good food too.
Now, I have another question, and I'm putting you on the spot. And I know you've worked at like 3 different hospitals now, and this might not be uniform, but like, if you have to go to the hospital cafeteria, what are some safe bets that are going to be macro friendly, whether you're on prep or just trying to eat better lifestyle? Is there any?
So really depends on the cafeteria. Ours lately has been coming in clutch with a lot of the protein snacks, the Quest chips, the barbell protein bars. not great. But like I said, in a pinch, most of the cafeterias have a grill, and you can ask for a plain grilled piece of chicken. It's going to be bland. It's probably going to be rubbery. But that's what I look for. I also look at the hot bar, and I look for steamed veggies, but I also make sure to ask if they have butter on them already, right? Because you can't always see that. So those are some things to look out for. But if you're macro prepping, trying to stay away from a hot bar where it's like pre-made meat that you don't know what's in the sauce and what's in, in a pinch, like I said, if you got to eat something, get something protein hardy. Might have some extra carbs and fats in there, but you can't beat yourself up and starve yourself because you didn't bring something. But most of the time you can get a grilled chicken patty from the grill. You can get just chopped up chicken. You can do hamburgers, but again, it's hard to tell what percentage fat those patties are, and they're just not good, honestly. But I've definitely gotten grilled chicken from the cafeteria before. You can get grilled chicken that can do grilled veggies. I've gotten like basically peppers and chicken grilled up. They'll put it on the grill, and that's what I've eaten for lunch before because I forgot mine. Or you can ask for whole grain bread, or just kind of spice it up a little bit. And in a pinch, go for that protein bar if that's more something that you feel like you can scan. Fruit cups are nice, but again, you have to be good at eyeballing how much is there, and not a lot of protein with that. So
No salad
grilled
bar,
chicken
huh?
from the grill. So ours are pre-made salads, so you can. They're pre-made salads, and some have more things than others. And the only dressing that they have that's a decent one is a fat-free Italian. So you could definitely do that.
Yeah.
But they're pre-made. They sometimes look a little wilty.
Yeah. Not my favorite.
But you can get a
So
chicken. You can get a grilled piece of chicken and cut it up and put it in your salad, and then that makes it a little bit better.
that's what I do when I'm traveling. Question, and again, across your 3 hospitals you've worked at, have any of these hospitals ever posted or have you inquired about the nutritional facts of their cafeterias, or have you not just asked?
Their hot bar and grill, I haven't. My hospital I'm at currently is really getting into a lot of, also I didn't mention, like yogurts and cottage cheese and packs of tuna fish and crackers. Like they're really aiming at those snacks that like are higher protein and good for nurses, which I do appreciate. They have a whole fridge of like those ones that have the nutritional facts on there. As far as like their grill goes, it's hard, right? Because different people use different amounts of oil on the grill, so anything, and that anything that goes in that deep fryer is going to be loaded with fat. So all your fries and your mozzarella, all those are just, there's some things you just don't even ask about because you just know no way they're fitting in my bag.
That was more of a question for me. I was curious because I know too some of my clients have like lunches provided, like they have cafeterias on site that like, and I'm just like, that's cool and all, but like unless you have solid nutritional facts, that might not be getting
they their screen throws a calorie count there, but
okay, so
and I mean I get
so again,
so something to play with.
Talked about with Ryan, in a worst case scenario, you can aim for your target your target calories, and it should get you
aim for higher protein and calories. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
definitely have done that before.
Yes, exactly. We had talked a little bit before we hopped on about another method that you used, I think, during your prep to help you, with all the goodies that are laying around. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah. One thing that I did when I was prepping was intermittent fasting. And it sounds crazy, right? Because it's really, when you're working a night shift, you have to find that time frame that works for you. It's that 8-hour eating window or whatever you do. That works for you. And for me, since most of the time prepping for a shift, I would sleep till about 12 or 1, I would start my fasting window at 1, and then I'd have till 9 p.m. That gave me till 9 p.m. to eat a good hearty snack or a good hearty meal. Yes, my feeding window from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
So, yeah. Did I say fasting? Feeding, for sure.
Yes.
So then if it was an off day, I could go to the gym, I could be active, I could do other things, you know, to distract me from eating till 1 p.m. I could usually last till 1 p.m. and then eating till 9 p.m. and I can go to sleep. It's not interfering. On a day that I worked, I would most of the time sleep till 1 p.m., wake up, eat again, use some of that time to go to the gym, and then I have till 9 p.m. at work to eat. Now, that 9 p.m. dinner that I would have would be probably the majority of my macros, because I would be fasting for so long. And then you get off your shift at 7:30, 8, sometimes 8 o'clock in the morning. You're tired, you go home and you sleep. And then if you're back the next night, you potentially could end up sleeping most of the day. But again, then you get to have a little bit more of a heartier, macro dense meal instead of all these little tiny little baby snacks along the way. So that really helped me at work to not eat some of the crap that's there, but also really helped, like, when you're a night shift worker, one of the hardest things is the irregular, you know, stomach, right? You're eating at weird times. Like sometimes you're eating at 3 a.m. Sometimes you're not eating for a bunch of hours. So it really regulated my body a little bit, helped with some bloating that you experience on night shift, helped with water retention for sure. And then just overall helped with those cravings. There's something mentally about not wanting to break that fast. You're like, man, I've been fasting perfect for a week straight. Like, is this nasty, hard, crusty donut worth breaking a week's worth of perfect fasting? No, it's not, right? And if it is, then, well, you broke your fast and it better have been worth it.
Well, yeah, and I find it really helpful for me as a mom. Like, so I do intermittent fasting now, and like stupid shit like my kid's pancake that she didn't finish in the morning covered in Nutella, or, you know, I'd make her the Uncrustables and there would just be like the crust of her bread that doesn't even have peanut butter or jelly on it, and I'm just like, oh, you just sneak a couple bites here, and it's like, why am I doing this? This is so fucking stupid. So now I intermittent fast and I just throw it away. I just throw it away.
Yeah, because you don't want to break it for crust.
Right. Ew.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to add? I feel like this has provided a lot of good fucking information. I know I learned a lot. I know our audience will learn a lot. I'm sure Ryan will learn a lot if he ends up listening to this. We're about the
he better. I'm on it. Just kidding. I think just some of the key points to take away is obviously prioritizing sleep as much as possible. Hitting those workouts for me before work came in clutch. The other reason I don't work 3 in a row when I am prepping, especially, is because I don't work out on a day that I'm back the next night. So I do use that as one of my rest days, because when you're a nurse, your mind has to be so sharp, right? Like there's just no room for error. So especially when you're night shift and you're going without sleep, I would prioritize sleep, 1, for my mind, 2, for my body. I'm not going to do a good workout if I have crap sleep. So I don't work out on that second shift. I prioritize sleeping throughout the day. So then if I worked a third, I would be using 2 rest days in a row. So figuring out what works best for you workout wise. Maybe one of those days is a core day that you do, like, you know, your core circuit at home.
Let's just sub in the fact that the Team FFLEX app makes it very easy to mix and match workouts to fit your workout schedule, which, by the way, you can do a free trial with me or Maura by going to the website teamfflex.com and fill out the consultation. Anyway, go on.
No, that's a great point. That came in so clutch. I know, like Ryan eventually just said, I'm gonna put your workouts on there and you do what you need to do, right? Because after a while you start to know you don't work the same days all the time, right? Sometimes you can, sometimes you, like certain hospitals, like the units have that, but you don't always work the same days. And you know, those floating rest days come in clutch, because sometimes you don't have a good shift, sometimes you're back the next day, you know. So Ryan would always say, here's your workouts, you put them where you want them. And that came in, that was always such a blessing to just be able to move those. So
what I do with
that's all what the app is.
Like, here it is.
Working out on your own time.
It's like, if 4 days works for you, cool. If 3 days works for you, let's augment it to 3 days. If 5 days works for you, I had a nurse just recently, I had originally put her on for 4 her 4 off days. She's like, no, I want to do 5. I'm like, okay, girl, if you want the 5,
Yeah.
you can have the 5. But like, you know, it's really easy, and that's where, of course, custom training comes in handy. You need to be able to talk to your coach, express your coach, and that's why it would be great if you're a nurse to have Maura's coach, because she has all the empathy in the world for you. She can help you out there.
Empathy, but I'll also hold you accountable. You know, I'll help you make it work for you, because I think that's one of the biggest things as a nurse. It's so easy to be like, look, I work night shift and I'm tired and I just don't have time. And it's like, we can help you find that time. We could help you find that time. We have to figure out what works for you, works for your family, works for your lifestyle, works in general, but like it might just take a couple weeks of figuring that out, but there is a common ground, and you definitely can compete as a nurse, for sure.
You've done it several times, and we have tons of nurses on the team. So, all right, we are nearing the time where I have to pick up my kid from school. I could go on for hours, but I think this is a really great episode. Maura's handle is at THELIFTING RN, right?
The lifting RN, yep.
Lifting RN on Instagram. I'll just have Colin tag it in the comments, because, like, my fucking Instagram.
Thanks, Colin.
Yeah, and then of course Team FFLEX. Yes, thank you, Colin. Colin's amazing. All right, so we'll wrap it up. Maybe we'll do a part 2 of this if there's enough. If you want a part 2, comment below.
Send some questions in there. They could put some questions in the comments.
Send those questions. Yes, absolutely. We'll have that going. And thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.